It is an honor and a privilege to close out the first day of Fast Pace for Pride 2025 with Legacy of Kain. This is Soul Reaver 1, the original release of the game. We're doing specifically the all bosses run of this game. So you can think of Soul Reaver as kind of like a dark gothic Zelda game. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. And we're going to be doing all bosses, which is like an all dungeons run, for lack of a better term, in like a Zelda style of game. If you've never seen this before, this was made by Crystal Dynamics, same people who made Tomb Raider, Gex Enter the Gecko, Whiplash, if you're a ball knower. But most importantly, we're playing, again, the original version. Last December, both this and Soul Reaver 2 got remastered. We're specifically doing the original one, because to me it's a lot more fun and interesting. But that's neither here nor there. So, time is going to start as soon as I select Start a New Game. So, we'll start counting on 5, and we'll start the run on 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good luck, have fun.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so this is Soul Reaver. We start the game as this guy named Raziel. He was a vampire and made into one by this guy named Kain, hence Legacy of Kain. And then Kain saw Raziel grow bat wings and was like, bro, that's really cringe. So he threw Raziel into the gamer dimension, which is this green place, which is actually the spirit world. I'm kind of lying low-key. But obviously Raziel's really mad. So in addition to beating up Kain, he also wants to go beat up his brothers because, I don't know, they were snitches or something? I don't quite remember. So our goal in this run, like I said, is to defeat Kain, but also all 4 of Raziel's brothers along the way. You don't normally need to do that in order to finish any % run, but that category is so marathon unsafe, it's even hard to describe. And part of that is because a lot of the glitches and tech in this run are really cool and flashy, but are pretty tricky to wield. And so we're going to see one kind of immediately, actually. This is a pretty new development coming right out of this intro cutscene here, where we're kind of getting the lowdown from the Elder God. And it's a glitch, a very famous glitch in the Kain series known as Time Stop. So Time Stop is a glitch that is going to allow us to walk around with the glitch select menu open. It's normally a menu that you use to select and cast spells. But with a frame-perfect like pause-on-pause input, I can actually walk around with this menu open. And the big reason that's important is cutscenes will not load until you exit this glitched state called Time Stop. Hence the name Time Stop. We're literally freezing time with a glitch. And we're going to do that at the very start of the run here on a loading scene between 2 pieces of this underworld tutorial area. And so I need to be in a very specific spot. Come on, guys. Come on. I can't find the spot. We'll just move on. Here's the spot. There we go. So now you'll see I'm kind of walking around with the ring menu open. That means I got the input. So there's supposed to be a cutscene that plays here before you enter this room. But by delaying it and then getting rid of Time Stop, I actually play both the cutscene for entering the room as well as activating that warp gate right there at the same time. And so that saves about 8 seconds if you nail it perfectly. So that was a little slow because I just couldn't quite get to the right spot on the scene there. But the way that Time Stop essentially works is that the game is built around these different chunks that represent different portions of an area or level. And there are these seams that kind of represent the barrier between one chunk of the level and the next. And so typically the game will load the chunk that you're in, as well as a chunk ahead of you and a chunk behind you. So if you stand Raziel on the border of 2 of those chunks, his idle animation will cause him to go from left to right. If you pull up that glitch select menu and try to essentially cancel out of it, at the exact frame where you cross from one chunk to the other, then it will interrupt the sort of menu close animation and allow you to gain full control, because it doesn't close the menu but keeps the flag around. Alright, second big glitch of the run, and another cornerstone piece of this, is called the breakout glitch, and more importantly, the double crouch jump. So the breakout glitch is normally the first glitch I'm used to explaining to people in this category, but we found that new time stop setup, so had to rearrange things a little bit. Okay, breakout glitch. So, there are 2 buttons that control your camera, one that pans left and the other that pans right. And if you hold both, you can zoom in like a quasi-first-person perspective. If you hold down crouch and then let go of both of those buttons, it will activate kind of another state where you can walk around when you're not supposed to, but this time in first-person mode. And if you do something in first-person mode, like push a block or open a door, and then let go of the camera buttons during the breakout glitch, it will break you out, hence the name, of whatever animation that you're doing. So in the example I did there, I did a crouch jump, procced the breakout glitch, and then did another crouch jump, so I could essentially double high jump and skip a bunch of platforming. And this will be a very important piece for another sequence that we're going to be doing after we kind of get introduced to... So we're in a big tutorial section right now, so we got taught how to do combat, how to eat souls to regain our HP in the spectral realm, and now we're being taught how to kind of go between the physical and spectral realm. Going between the two is an intended gameplay mechanic that causes certain bits of the world geometry to change, and thus change, oh, I can jump on this platform or interact with some things here, but not in the spirit world, and vice versa. That is going to be something we're going to have to manage over the course of the run, but now that we're past that, we're going to see a lot of really cool applications of the breakout glitch. The first one I'm going to be doing is doing it on a wooden door, which will basically the animation that Raziel does to open a door and the door actually opening are 2 separate like objects moving around. So with the breakout glitch, I can get control of Raziel while the door is doing its opening animation and walk through the door at full speed, and it looks something like this. So we just walk through the door as it's opening, and it lets us walk into this cutscene, where I would probably normally still be dealing with the walk-through door animation. And then here, I'm going to do another double crouch jump with the breakout glitch to get over a cutscene trigger, which should hopefully stall these enemies from aggroing onto me. From there, I'm going to do a setup to do another cutscene overlap, which will also hopefully look really funny. Okay, so we got the double crouch jump over the cutscene trigger. And then I'm going to walk up to this block and crouch to pick it up instead. Normally, I would just push this, but I'm trying to delay a cutscene, and the cutscene here won't play if I'm crouched. Then I'm going to set up the breakout glitch, pick it up, and break out of pulling up the cube. This is going to activate a tutorial cutscene that plays when you stand next to the cube for the first time, while also letting me drop the cube on the enemies, instantly killing them. And there's a tutorial cutscene that plays when you kill them. So it's playing both at the same time and letting me kind of walk around. And now we're going to do another time stop, which will probably be the biggest like time save-wise skip so far, thanks to something we'll do in a moment called a teleflip.
This is wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on, let me fix my camera here. Oh, got it. Hell yeah. So again, it is a frame-perfect trick every time I want to do time stop here, so we're going to go ahead and break out right here. And then I'm going to tab, untab next to the block. In time stop, it will actually store certain properties about the world state, and there I tab in and out to save the fact... Yeah, so we just teleport through that wall right there. I basically saved the fact that Raziel was standing next to a cube at a certain XYZ coordinate. But I also unloaded the cube, so when I try to play the animation for picking it up, it teleports me to like a corrupted XYZ location, sending me through that wall. And the reason that's really important is that when you open that door normally, it plays a really long cutscene, about 2 minutes long. And so by doing that and having time stop past the other side of the door, I save about 2 minutes of having to watch that cutscene. So this is going to give us our next warp. This is the what we call the Abyss warp, because it's right over the abyss that, Kain threw us into the Hell Dimension from. And then right here, we're going to do another door glitch, as we call them. Breakout glitch on the door opening animation. It allows us to get through here. So there's actually, you can actually, this cutscene skip right here is normally really easy. You can just crouch jump over it. The devs in 1999 just did not make it tall enough. But it's a bit faster to do a double jump with the breakout glitch right there. And this coming up is where we get to hear Ozar Mishrudim for the first time. This is like my favorite song in the game. And then we also get to do a bunch of really fun breakout movement tech, all kind of like back to back to back. So I kind of like to call this part of the run like kind of like the early game's Magic Mile. So to start here, we're going to skip this fight, by trying to double crouch jump up and over this wall. If you're too short, you'll actually kind of like get stuck on the wall and not be able to continue. And that skips a fight, which opens those iron bars back there. And then we're gonna do another just kind of couple sequences of opening doors with the door glitch. And our goal, kind of in going this direction, is normally to make our way over to the first boss fight, Malkaya. Kind of like the first Zelda dungeon, if you will, is kind of Malkaya's domain. There's a better name for it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, because these games have so much lore.
I think the better name for it might be Deku Tree.
Exactly, right? Although I don't even know if there's any plant life in this game, low-key, but that's neither here nor there. So right there, I try to manipulate that enemy to either swing at me or do a dodge attack away, so that he gives me a bit more room to breathe to get the breakout glitch there and skip a spiral staircase, essentially. And then coming up, I'm going to actually intentionally go into the Spectral Realm. Before you get the Soul Reaver, you actually slowly lose your health when you are in the physical realm, because you are a Reaver of Souls. You're kind of like this zombie vampire thing that eats souls. But by being in the Spectral Realm, it actually prevents a cutscene from playing here. I was trying to land on a ledge there. It's like a tiny little micro-optimization. TLDR, there's a bunch of cutscenes that are supposed to play here. We're going to skip another one with some crouch jump check. Then right here, revert to the Spectral Realm, or Physical Realm, sorry. And then sometimes instead of a double crouch jump, I'll actually fit in a regular jump somewhere if I don't need the like extra crouch jump height, just because it takes a little bit longer frame data for the crouch jump to come out. And then right there, I kind of just immediately phase through that metal grate. Those metal doors, like, you can open them the normal way, but later on in the Spectral Realm, when you get the first boss ability, you can T-pose through them as well. Sorry, I try to do like 3 words back to back at the same time. That was a little rough.
You got a lot to explain.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ever see me phase through one of those, that's why. So we're gonna go ahead and shift back into the Spectral Realm. I'm gonna be needing to go into a spot that's like underwater in a little bit, and it's much faster to transform into the ghost zone. Like we're Danny Phantom, rather than do it kind of the intentional way, which is to fall into the water, and then Raziel's kind of sad because he got wet. And then we're just going to go out of bounds here to this unloaded hallway, and then I need to go back and around to make sure it loads in properly. Again, you got to make sure you load the chunks in the right order, or there will just be nowhere for you to go. And then we're going to heal up and go back into the Physical Realm. So normally this is an area that you can only access once you get the ability to T-post through metal grates with Malkaya's like dungeon item, for lack of a better term. But we want to come here early because we get a very broken upgrade called the Force Glyph. This is the first of the spells in the game, so I mentioned earlier that spell menu that I bring up to like do things like time stop and the breakout glitch. This is one of the spells you could actually cast from that. And so what we're going to try to do here is grab this spell and then save and quit. But if I pause on the frame I pick it up, I can actually skip the pickup animation too. So probably not going to get it, but we're going to try. And then once we get this, even though it's like the worst spell in the game, it is exactly what we need to like turn this run into overdrive. And it's a big reason why I play the OG version.
We haven't been in overdrive yet?
Nope. It's about to get even more ridiculous. Yeah, so this is the animation I was trying to skip. Again, it's a frame-perfect pause input. You can pause buffer it, but I was late to my first pause buffer, so... Oops. But it's okay. It's only like a 15-second penalty.
Energy, however. Use them
Sparingly and wisely. So we are going to go ahead and save and quit, because otherwise we are soft-locked, and now we are heading on to Malkaya. So that Force Glyph upgrade like has a specific animation that plays where Raziel spins up really fast, and it the way the devs programmed it is it actually increases Raziel's animation speed. But if you interrupt that with the breakout glitch, it can lock Raziel into a hyperspeed state where all of his animations play faster. And while you're in that state, if you do the right series of like a crouch jump input and stuff, you get the ability to fly. And so this is called the flight glitch, and this is exclusive to the original release of the game, which is a big reason why I run this over the remaster, for at least Soul Reaver 1. And so we're going to skip like all of the Deku Tree by essentially doing like the basement skip, for lack of a better term, by just kind of going underneath here, landing on this, so that I missed I tried to do that a little faster for swag. So now I need to kind of go back and take some stutter steps to make sure I load everything in properly. So actually what happened there is I went too fast, and that caused me to miss a loading trigger. So this is going to allow us to get around another gate that normally you have to do like a bunch of puzzles throughout this Zelda dungeon in order to access. But because I did that, we skip the whole dungeon essentially, and we go right to the Melkaya boss fight. So we do have a manip that we're going to do for this boss in a second, but we've got a bit of a cutscene here. So Adam, if you've got anything you'd like to share with us, now would be a great time for like a message or two.
Yeah, I have a $17 donation from Anonymous. Thank you very much. And that $17 donation put us at $50 away from our bonus run, our Soul Reaver 2 80%. Could you, in just a few seconds or a few sentences, give us a pitch on that run? Like, what makes that run wild, and why should everyone donate for it?
Yeah, so if we want to go back to the metaphor with the Zelda games, it's like a defeat Ganon no SRM type of run, where we just glitch the game omega hard right from the start of the game, and just get like from start to end final boss like really quick. If you thought this looks broken, that game's also broken. Or people go back and forth on whether Soul Reaver 1 or Soul Reaver 2 is more broken. I would go with Soul Reaver 1, but Soul Reaver 2 is like a close second. And we're gonna beat the game in like 15 minutes, so you are not gonna want to miss that.
$50.
So like, imagine all you just saw. Like, we've been running this run now for 15 and a half minutes. Soul Reaver 2 would have already been done by now.
That is.
But I won't spoil any more than that.
Yes, absolutely. Get your donations in, exclamation point donate in the chat, and we can get that done. We're very close. We're $200 out of $250, I believe.
Alright, so at the start of this fight, I'm actually going to not jump around. I've kind of been jumping around all over the course of this run to move faster, but I'm actually pacing myself in a very specific way to try to manip Melkaya to walk into a specific spot right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand right next to him, so he's lured into wanting to try to attack me. So that way he actually heads over to the other side of the arena, and that prevents him from like walking into the other room and kind of just like literally just like sniffing around seeing what happened in there. And so from here I can just kind of wait over here for him to do his next thing, unless he like got stuck or something. Oh, here he comes. Okay. And then that way he can eventually make his way, and kind of this entire setup is predicated around the idea of like preventing him from like getting his AI getting confused and wanting to basically turn in place. And so now all I need to do is kind of lure him into the center, and the fight is pretty much good to go. So the cool thing about all of the bosses is they actually like kind of show, except for like kind of Zephon, I guess, kind of show you what their boss's like ability does in the fight. So you saw he like kind of phased through the metal grates. That's the ability he's gonna give us once we put him in the blender, literally, and then take his soul. So yeah, I will mention as well, every time we defeat a boss, there will be kind of like this glowy orb thing that represents the new power-up that we're getting. So pretty much every time, like after a boss dies, there will be kind of a bit of a flashing lights warning. Generally so like there will be one coming up in a second, so now's probably a good time to look away, but once we actually get the soul, we're good. So I'll let you know when to look back at the screen here. But this is boss number 1 of 4, outside of the required encounters with Kain 1 and Kain 2. But after this, we're just going to do a quick save and quit and get out of here. Alright, so you can look at the screen now. So yeah, we're gonna do a quick save and quit here, and then I'm just gonna head my way back to the warp gate. So, Adam, how are we doing? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I wanted to just shout out the Fast Pace Events team for putting this event on. It's, you know, this stuff, everything going on behind the scenes, it is kind of wild to make this stuff happen. It is pretty incredible. And Fast Pace Events is a wonderful group. They were founded in January 2022, with a mission to promote mental health and LGBTQ+ awareness through speedrunning and to raise money for mental health and LGBTQ plus charities by beating games at a fast pace, as you are seeing now with this wild run of Soul Reaver. So yeah, thanks to the Fast Pace Events team and everyone working behind the scenes to get all this rolling. We've already raised so much, and everybody here should be very proud of themselves.
The one thing I've yet to describe about the flight glitch here is something called wing smashing. So there's kind of two aspects to the flight glitch in this super speed state. There's kind of what I call getting uppies, for lack of a better term, and the other... Oh. Hold on a second. Accidentally stored a flight glitch there when I meant to transform. There we go. And so what wing smashing essentially is... actually, shoot. I might actually not have time to talk about wing smashing now. I will talk about that... actually, no. We'll talk about it in a second. Let me do this skip real quick, though. So I'm intentionally in the spectral realm, so I can prevent another cutscene from playing. Then we're going to jump up to this piece of geometry. One thing that's really important to note is that 99% of the time, you can only... Because you can only cast spells in the physical realm, you can only really proc the flight glitch in the physical realm. So whenever I am back in the spectral realm, with a few exceptions that we'll talk about, we're mostly going to be on foot here in the spectral realm. But with that being said, the way that wing smashing works is essentially once you're in midair, there's a button you can press that's meant to, when you're doing like gliding puzzles or parkour platforming stuff, it allows you to kind of hover in place so you can gauge your landing. But if you press that button while you're gliding and then let go, it'll kind of slingshot you backwards and then forwards at a higher fly speed than when you started. And that's called wing smashing, kind of named after, whatchamacallit, the Tekken Soten.
The abyss has been unkind.
But yeah, so we're going to be doing that a lot, and like there's a lot that goes into wing smashing and also getting the height that you need. There's a lot more complexity to it than what I described. But now we have made it to what I call peak fiction. So this is the first Kain encounter.
You have no right.
And so, basically, Kain is the guy who threw us into the hell dimension for gamers, right?
Damn you, Kain!
And so he's like, damn you, Kain, you are not God. And so because of that, unfortunately, we really can't skip this cutscene or much of it after. In the any percent run, where you just beat the game as fast as you can actually do a weird kind of setup to skip the second, I would say the second half of the second cutscene involved in all of this mess, which is a really funny little setup. But can't do it in this category 100%. But basically at this point in the story, like Raziel's just like, hey dude, what the frick? Why did you throw me into the dimension with where all the gamers were? And then Kain is just like, dude, I did it because free will is not real, and cry about it. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but essentially, the reason we want to do this Kain fight now is because the Soul Reaver is going to be really important for when we get telekinesis, as well as it locks our entry into Zephon's area of the game. And it's also just a mandatory, even in any percent, you need the Soul Reaver to defeat the last Kain fight. And so for this first Kain fight, the two Kain fights are actually probably the easiest boss fights in the speedrun, because this AI is really easy to cheese. So what you can do is he'll essentially teleport on the opposite side of the arena in one of three spots depending on where you're standing. So if you stand in the same spot every time, he'll teleport to the same spot every time. So you can hit him, run back to that spot, and then come back, and you can loop him. And it's very, very funny. So he always starts by going back here, poke, run to the middle, turn around, poke, got him. And that's it. That is literally the fight.
Clean.
Alright, and so that's Kain 1 taken care of. So now, after this, a big reason why we want to do this now as well is because the normal intended boss order of, or what would be kind of your 1, 2, 3, 4, is Melchiah, Zephon, Rahab, and then Duma. Instead, what we're gonna do, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna do 1, 3, 2, 4. So and that's because the way that you get to the third boss is actually centered in this room, locked behind the ability to wall climb that you get from the second boss. But we can fly. So we're just gonna go get the third boss taken care of and then go do the second boss. Flashing lights warning for this next bit. Once there's gonna be an undead lady. Don't worry about it. Once you hear her start to talk, that ends the flashing lights warning. So we can say that warning is on for now. And then after this sort of cutscene, we should be good to go, and the run is gonna get... Basically, after this point, the run like really starts to get a lot harder because of a relatively new discovery called Fly Stop, which I'll talk about a bit more in a bit. But Adam, I was curious: is this your first time seeing like this game at all, or the speedrun? Because I feel like I'm turning you into that like small Victorian child meme. You know what I mean? Where it's just like,
You just
what
gave me a
is
talkie.
this?
Yeah, I've seen Legacy of Kain before. You know, I'm old, so I remember, like, I think I played a demo of this back in the day. I've never seen this speed run,
I see.
and it is blowing me away.
Yeah.
Shout out to this message in chat that just says, "This game is somehow everything I didn't expect."
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. The undead lady is here. I don't remember what she does other than being kind of just like a character. I mean, I guess that you could say that about any video game, but like she does something. Like I think she beefed it somewhere down the line, and eventually it makes a little more sense in Soul Reaver 2. But we're gonna ignore it in Soul Reaver 2. If that incentive gets met, by the way.
We are only
shameless plug.
We're only $25 away from the incentive.
Come on, y'all. We are right there.
They're so
You do not
close.
want to miss that. It is going to be very, very, very silly. But before we get to that, let's talk about Fly Stop. So, in addition to not being able to fly in the Spectral Realm, typically, you're also typically not able to fly during Time Stop. Because in Time Stop, it disables your ability to cast spells until you cancel the effects of the glitch. However, I figured out that proccing the flight glitch has two separate steps. Every time you want to activate the super speed glitch, you have to take a step forward and then tab on tab to open and close the spell cast menu. And because of that, you can prime the flight glitch essentially with breaking out of it. And then when you're in Time Stop, you take that step forward and do those steps to make the flight glitch happen. So we're going to flight glitch up here. And it goes without saying as well, flight speed a lot faster. So this is going to be our first attempt at Fly Stop. I'm also going to make a quick safety save here. And I'm going to ask for a little bit of quiet time. So we proc the flight glitch. You kind of saw me interrupt the cast. There we go. We take that step now, and now I have the flight glitch active until I cancel it. And there's a couple of ways that we can cancel it that I want to avoid for the moment. But what I'm trying to do here is there's this area called the Seraphan Tomb, and it's a big lore zone. But you can kind of sneak out of that emergency exit right there. That's kind of just used for backtracking normally. And just swoosh right by it and skip the whole thing. And there's also a cutscene that's supposed to play there, which that I think alone saves like 2.5 to 3 minutes. Maybe more if you count like the casual way you're supposed to go through that section. And now this is kind of more of a mini boss than anything, where when we defeat this enemy, we're gonna get telekinesis. I'm gonna try to go for a setup to like bait out an attack and hopefully get a quick kill on him. If not, things are gonna get dicey very, very quickly for me. So I'm gonna be quiet for just a second. He has a telekinesis ability before we kill him, so he's gonna try to shoot Hadoukens at me. And then he has this lunge attack that's like really hard to space outside of, while not being too far away for him to not just want to throw a fireball. So let's see if I can hit this. He's been pretty rude to me in practice today, so let's see how this goes. So there's the fireball. Got the bait. And the stab. Nice. Okay.
Let's go.
So we got another little bit of a flashing lights warning. Yep, right there. And then one more little bit of flashing lights. I'll let you know when it's over. But yeah, so we used that fly stop there, and we got that going pretty solid.
And hey, guess what?
We should be good. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, guess what? You're
Did we make
gonna
it
be playing. You're gonna be playing Soul Reaver 2 after this.
Oh, baby!
Yes!
Yeah! Thank you so much, chat. That is freaking awesome. Holy smokes. Any idea who got us over the finish line there?
Yes, we have a $25 donation from Blitz Hedgie that says, I'm having so much fun watching this run, and I really want to see any % bonus run of Soul Reaver 2. And this lets FPFP, it's more of a mouthful than I expected, day 1 go a little longer. And then we have another $25 from Indy that just says, give me more.
I don't know whether I should be grateful or threatened with that.
Yeah, that was not a request, that was a demand.
Alright, so now that we have telekinesis, we have everything we need to take on Rahab. And Rahab's area is kind of like if the water temple didn't suck. And because of that, we can... it's one of those things where it's like a Ratchet and Clank planet where the end is right near the beginning. But we're going to need to do another fly stop in order to reach that. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, that could have... There's some ghost enemies there that really like to be rude if you don't get that first try. Alright, we're just gonna... I was trying to do a breakout glitch off of the transform point to be fancy. Where we're gonna fly a boat over the canal here. And then we actually got a pretty low flight, which is gonna kind of allow me to... if it'll let me. So, there's kind of some weird movement you'll see me do if I'm not flying. And that's because if you do too much of your walk cycle, it'll actually cancel the speed up glitch that enables flight here. And that's really important, so that I can kind of fly in and out here. And then, again, we're going to set up fly stop. So there's a cutscene that's supposed to play that we're going to want to skip the time stop. Nice. And so I'm going to take this a little safe. If you fall into water with time stop and don't have the ability to swim, it soft locks the game. So I didn't want to do that, but basically we flew over the entire dungeon, and this spiral staircase takes us right to Rahab. So we just skipped the entire dungeon, which pretty freaking sick. That fly stop in particular was actually the first one I ever found. So weirdly enough, I was actually the one who kind of came up with the whole fly stop glitch thing. And another example here of, we're not always going to be like breaking out of the animation to phase into the spectral realm. It really kind of depends on the context, but in that case, just because we're going down the spiral staircase, it's a bit faster there. And then we do a double crouch jump into here. And the big thing behind that fly stop, as well as the way I've kind of made my way through the Drowned Abbey, as this dungeon is called, is I made sure to do this without taking any damage. If you've never played Soul Reaver 1 before, having the Soul Reaver in the physical realm is kind of like having the upgraded Master Sword, where when you're at full HP, you deal a lot of damage and you have like this ranged attack that's a lot more powerful. The Soul Reaver only manifests in the physical world when you're at full HP. And the frame data for that telekinesis fireball that we unlocked before this boss fight is actually a lot faster with the Soul Reaver than without. So my goal in this fight, the goal of the fight is to destroy all of the stained glass window circles in this room to shine light on the boss, because this vampire in particular is weak to light. I want to try to get as many of these glass windows broken as I can before I inevitably get hit. So if I do this right, it'll look pretty fast. So we'll see how this goes. He's also just got like a great face in this cutscene because this game is from 1999. He looks a little bit more menacing in the remaster, but he just, I don't know. His head shape is just like, how do you take a head shape like that seriously? Do you know what I mean? Like, am I tripping?
It's very much just like, they stretched the face over this polygon. It's not my fault.
He saved us.
Saved us?
From what?
From what?
From ourselves.
Alright, let's see if I can get this here. So we're going to do 2 there, reset the camera so that it kind of points me back to the center of the room, so that I don't have to manually use the camera. Yeah, you can see how much slower like the standard telekinesis attack is without the Soul Reaver. Oh, he wanted to like, eat me there too, that was wild. I'm done! So we have a little bit of a... We're getting another, like, soul pickup here, so this might be, like, another 30 seconds worth of flashing lights here, starting about now. So, Adam, I don't know if we got any updates or just, you know, status report on maybe you, or if you're doing okay.
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And, you know, we have a whole other day tomorrow. And because of that, we have a whole other incentive that just opened. We have an incentive for Star Wars Rogue Squadron to enable the dialogue in the game, and that is a $150 donation incentive. It is the third run tomorrow, and so that donation is going to be open all night. So you can get in with that. And again, as is always the case, we have a poll, we have a bid war, and a target incentive, and you can put your money towards both of those. So you can vote on Spyro's color, and you can put that money towards Rogue Squadron to enable that dialogue in that run tomorrow.
All right, so from here, I mentioned earlier that typically you cannot fly while in the Spectral Realm. However, I figured out a way to do it. So we're gonna do a setup for what I like to call Spirit Airlines, and more specifically, this setup is called TSA Pre-Check because this warp gate kind of looks like a metal detector if you like squint and like are like really sleep deprived. So typically, the way it works is that because that warp gate, when you go back into the underworld, puts you kind of back in the Spectral Realm already, it doesn't like unclear your setup of the flight glitch. And so because of that, you can just zoom through here instead of having to walk. And then we're gonna fly right through here. And then a bunch of wing smashes right there in order to land over here, phase back into the material realm, and then with the Soul Reaver, we can open the dungeon to the door to the next dungeon, which is the Silence Cathedral, where Zephon lurks. That was really damn good flight movement. Something we'll talk about a bit as well is that in initially setting up the flight glitch, depending on what your button inputs are, you can actually get variable amounts of upward velocity. And sometimes you want a fast upward velocity, or what I call a fast flight, and sometimes you want a slow flight. Because the faster you go, sometimes the more you'll get stuck on ceilings. So in that case right there, that I got what's more of a slower flight, and that was really good for actually getting me through there. Generally higher, we're going to be wanting in these next couple of sections some higher speed flights, meaning that we get more vertical at the very start of the flight glitch. So that way we can wing smash a lot more, because every time you wing smash, you kind of like recoil back a bit. And you need enough, like, vertical space to be able to achieve that, right? So we got a pretty good one right here. And there's a lot of puzzles in this dungeon that revolve around, like, these wind tunnels that are, like... Alright, we're gonna reset the flight glitch. So this is supposed to also just be like a one-way puzzle exit sort of thing, but, like, you're supposed to open like a fan vent and bellows here, but because we can fly, the trigger is just always there to get us up to the next level. So we skipped about a third of the dungeon, and now we're gonna go skip probably, well, I'd say that's like, is that a third? I don't know, I forgot math. All you need to know is, oh wow, ledge grab, that's rude. Got a really good low flight angle though, which is gonna give me, basically with low flight angles, even though you would think, oh, less vertical speed is worse, it generally gives me more control over where I'm flying with Raziel. But sometimes you'll want that higher vertical speed so that you can get uppies a lot faster, which is really important in this dungeon specifically, because there are so many sections that are gated by the fact it's like, oh, you need to construct a wind tunnel in order to get up here. And so the hardest one of these is going to be this one, where I'm going to need to try to get a hole-in-one with a fast vertical flight in order to get up and through this tube, which kind of avoids this really long, probably my least favorite section in the dungeon, where you're just kind of like wandering through and hitting switches. So I got to be very careful. These enemies are very aggressive. Hole-in-one, let's go. Awesome.
Nice.
And now we just fly into the next boss arena with Zephon. So he's going to be like this big spider guy. He's going to monologue at me before I shoot his claws off and then burn him alive. So Adam, I don't know if you had anything to update us on, or how are we doing on that bid board, actually? I'm curious.
Let me take a look. Spyro Reignited Trilogy. It is fairly close between two. We have three options. You have pink, blue, and retro. Currently, pink has $3. Retro has $65 and blue has $77. So blue and retro are really fighting it out.
That's wild.
Retro,
hey, maybe we gotta put some momentum behind pink. Let's make that happen.
Right?
We can't let it be in third place. Come on.
Retro came out to a pretty strong lead initially, but blue is really roaring back. But come on, y'all, like
Blue Nation is on a comeback. That's wild.
You can't leave pink behind. And remember, you can put it towards multiple donations. One donation can be put towards multiple incentives. So you can get that Rogue Squadron incentive met and get pink going. Come on, y'all. Pink.
Pink gaming. It could be real. Alright, so one of the big reasons we route Zephon second, in addition to convenience, is that you're not ever supposed to have telekinesis in this fight, and the way you're supposed to get Zephon to spawn these eggs that will light on fire, that make him vulnerable, is he sticks one of his big ceiling claws into the ground, and then you break it with your attacks. But the Soul Reaver telekinesis attack also breaks these claws. So you can see those 4 big claws right there. So we're going to start by going away. He's going to get real mad. And then we're just going to break them all in advance while he's spawning his first egg. We're going to pick it up. And then there's going to be a lit flamethrower over here that Zephon forgot about. We're going to throw that at him. And then we're just going to chuck telekinesis projectiles in him until he generates another egg. 3 jumps into the fire. Chuck it. Blast away. So anyway, I started blasting. And then overall, this was a really good Silence Cathedral split. That was pretty solid. I'm curious to see what my segment timer on that will look like. But we are getting another power-up here, but weirdly enough, this is like the only boss power-up that doesn't really flash too bad, but it is happening this moment if you're worried about it. Let's see what... I'm golding this by a lot. Wow. Okay, I just made up 20 on PB. That was sick.
Oh, crap.
Heck yeah. All right. So we're not going to do a save and quit this time. There is actually a warp gate that they put kind of off to the side onto the way to this boss arena. And by taking that warp gate instead of saving and quitting, we actually save out on a cutscene with the Elder God when we return to like the default respawn point. So we're going to take that and take that back to the standard like Abyss hub warp. And use that to make our way to Duma, where we're going to have to do a pretty weird... We're doing a weird fly stop off of a pretty tough seam to activate the trick on. Into... Oh, I need a higher speed plate. There we go. So, into the warp room, just like that. And now we're going to head our way. So instead of going off to the left, like we did when we made our way to Malkaya, we'll go straight across the pit that leads to the place where they send the gamers. So we're going to go ahead, and luckily we don't need to retransform here. So I'm going to set up for another flight glitch through this tunnel. Generally, the flight glitch is really difficult to proc with a low ceiling. It's a really tight frame window, and even then you typically get low upward speed. So you can only do like a wing smash or 2. It's pretty rough, but I'm going to try to do another one here and then kind of bank it here, get a little more height. So one thing to note with the wing smashes that's really important is that every time you do a wing smash, you'll lose some of your vertical velocity. And so that's something you need to keep in mind, especially with some of the slower flights. So it's like it's a series of trade-offs, right? Okay, there's the fly stop. Yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of having... There we go. I just want to fly enough just to get through here with a little bit of extra wing smash speed. There we go. So the first part of this strat is to go up and through the door and then backtrack to the loading trigger. And then similar to the Seraphan tomb, there's a little gap in that fence right there. And so this basically lets us break into the 4th and final dungeon before Ganon's castle without watching a long cutscene. But from here, what I did is I actually walked over a loading scene in order to essentially deload that blast door that you normally have to break open by coming to this room from a different angle, and then do what I'm doing right here. Please? Thank you, guys. So this blast door is going to open now, and normally that exit is opened for you when you do this puzzle and go through a much more, I don't want to say annoying puzzle area of this, like, dungeon. But we avoided all of that entirely and skipped a bunch of cutscenes along the way, so we're saving, like, 3 minutes off of, like, a more no major glitches type of thing. But then this is also the spot we need to lure the fourth boss to in order to... 1 second. This is also where we need to lure Duma to when we do his boss fight later. So we're just going to fly to the other side. And unfortunately, I had something happen to me called the audio glitch, where sometimes the audio desyncs because we broke the game too hard. So the audio for this game is going to sound a little funky for probably the rest of this run, unless I quit and reload the game, which I would like to avoid doing if possible. Because then... trying to, like, get this game's audio capture to work with OBS is a little bit of a nightmare sometimes, and by nightmare I mean it's just mildly inconvenient. That is a lot of vertical height, so that means I don't have to get another flight glitch as I skip another major wing of the dungeon by just flying over the thing so we can solve the puzzle that way. Yeah, the thing that makes this tougher for me, though, as a runner, is I don't have, like, the same sound cues for when I'm doing the tricks. So right here, I'm trying to do a breakout glitch double crouch jump in order to get up and over a one-sided cutscene trigger, which I can't think off the top of my head any other game that has that. But yeah, because of course, Soul Reaver does. This is, that saves about 8 seconds. But as I went into this cutscene and pulled out the final stake, I angled the camera away from the throne because I'm essentially going to be running backwards into the camera so that I can keep my eye on this boss at all times. The way this boss works is that he's going to chase after you and try to melee you. He wants a fist fight. And what he'll do is if he gets a hit on you, bad things will happen. If you're too far away, he'll stay in place and basically Doomfist ult the ground, which will stun you if you're standing on the ground. And so I have to do this tightrope walk where I'm at the maximum possible distance where he'll sprint after me to try to melee me, but not be too close for him to slow walk, but not too far so that he goes for the Doomfist ult. So for most of this fight, even though it looks like I'm just going to be running backwards, this takes a lot of concentration, so... And you're going to see me, like, ever so slightly tap crouch sometimes. So that time there, I actually let him get too close. And so he slowed down a little bit. Good. Turns are by far the hardest part of this minute. Yep, so unfortunately I got really unlucky and he did a stutter step. But every time he Doomfist ults there, it will guarantee that he runs for a good bit and not do the attack again for a little bit. I have to be very careful not to get him stuck on corners, but generally once I get him into this hallway, the minute becomes a lot easier. So after I, like, walk for too far, he will eventually be out of range and start to Doomfist ult. But now he's in the room. We're going to throw the stake, and now that's the end of the fight, and we're going to burn him alive. So that was a one Doomfist ult fight. That was pretty good. Pretty good split overall. Because of all of the cutscene triggers that we skipped, there is no way in heck I'm going out of the fourth dungeon the normal way. Flashing lights warning from here on out until I let you know we're good. But now he looks like the turkey that my mom made for Thanksgiving dinner. And we get one more ability here, which is Constrict. It lets you run circles around things and activate certain switches. Only really relevant for 100%. But we're going to be skipping every other... Golden. Okay, so I was doing a practice run, and I got a gold on that split earlier. And I thought that gold was, like, really good. So I just golded again, so that's cool.
Nice.
Awesome. 2 late game golds is really sick. But now we are heading into, I don't want to say the danger zone, but this is the final stretch. We've done all the bosses that we need to do per the category name, and now we're going to be heading into the Chronoplast and kind of like the Sage's Chambers in order to confront Kain one more time. We got one more little cutscene here, and then I'm going to be doing a good bit of flight movement here, so until we kind of get to the end sequence here, and start to talk to Kain the second time, Adam, this is probably your last chance if you got anything you'd like to shout out.
Yeah, I have a couple things here. One, I have a $10 donation from Flicky. Thank you very much. And I also have a $100 donation from Terminator's cousin.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's the T720, I believe. Thank you so much for your generosity. That has put us well on the way towards that Rogue Squadron incentive. We are now at $110 out of $150 towards that incentive. And it's not even tomorrow yet. That incentive is going to be open all night. Thank you so much for your generosity. That is incredible. And again, we've got that incentive open. We are $40 away if anybody wants to snipe that and really just end the day off with a bang and start tomorrow with an even bigger bang. Knock yourself out. And we've also got the Spyro bid war still open. Thanks so much for your generosity, everyone. It means the world.
Alright, so I got a ridiculous flight chain through there. That was really good. I managed to get like a high-speed upward flight, which allowed me to go kind of ridiculous. Okay, here we go. So this is the scary part. So I'm going to set up fly stop here, but this is going to be a big telestab chain. So similar to that block flip teleport that I did really early on. Hold on a second. Okay, I had to make sure I didn't crash the game there, which we didn't, which is awesome. So what I'm going to do here is instead of standing next to a block, I'm going to stand next to this guy. He's going to be like, ah! And then I'm running over specific loading zones to manipulate memory values, which when I tried to do a stabbing attack in order to like stab at that enemy, it's instead going to warp me into this room, which skips like the first half of like Ganon's castle dungeon. And then there, I just nailed a frame-perfect pause input called a pause-delayed telestab, which allowed me to clip through that wall and skip leaving time stop so I can use constrict in order to get in through there. Now remember, the game still thinks I want to stab that guy who was like, ugh, earlier. So I'm going to walk around a loading zone 3 times to set up my teleport point, jump, and then stab, which is going to get me just enough through the wall to skip it. We're skipping so many puzzles in this, like, final dungeon here. It's, like, difficult to, like, even really, like, get a full appreciation of it. And then we're going to do a double telestab. So I'm jumping every time before I do one of these telestabs. Otherwise, because there's no floor under me, the game will just put me in a free fall. But if you jump, the game will put you into a grounded state before you execute the telestab. We're going to do another telestab here to kind of get us onto the railing at the other side of this room, and then do a tricky little crouch jump in order to get up and over here and avoid the puzzle in this room. And then remember that I have fly stop still ready and waiting to go. So this one's tricky though, because I also need to reset my telestab point. So I'm going to get right up next to this guy, and then proc the flight glitch like that. So this will hopefully allow me to fly down and through here. And then I do another stab right there, purposely in such a way where... There we go. I think that flight should be good. We'll see. Yes, okay. And so now I have the flight glitch through this really long... I call it the cutscene tunnel, because all of these, like, warp, like, space, like, gate, like, warp gate looking things, like, have, like, a cutscene or vision of the past. So being in time stop here is great. But we're also flying through here at hyperspeed. This has been a really, really solid split of this. And then a couple more wing smashes, and this will be kind of our... Wow. Really, really good. Okay. So we have now made it into the final boss. So now we are in cutscene mode for a good bit here. So we're witnessing this cutscene now, which also ends up being the opening cutscene to Soul Reaver 2, funnily enough. But he's basically there's literally a line here as well where he's like, "Oh, I'm disappointed. I thought you'd get here sooner," even though we literally got here in like 53 minutes, and in any percent you get here in like 20, which is really funny. But yeah, no, this cutscene is like ridiculously long, and one of the biggest things too that separate, again, we're playing on the original release. You can't skip cutscenes on the original, but you can in the remaster. And so because of that, you know, you would think like, oh, all these long cutscenes probably just make the run worse, right? But to me, like, the big thing is that because you can skip all these cutscenes with like other tricks, and like a lot of the tricks are built around that, it makes the run like its own thing. So while we're kind of here, I just want to give a couple of community shoutouts to people who have worked on or with this game. I'm going to give a huge shout out to Vegtes and Troboncino, who are two Italian runners who have pushed this game a lot and were really helpful in helping me to learn some of this stuff. I want to give a huge shout out as well to the Crispy Taco, who has been pushing the remastered version of this game on the glitched front as well. As well as a lot of other old, like, you know, runners of the game, you know, people like the Mentitala, just like anyone who's ever had a hand in this game, whether casually or just as a speedrun. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. But yeah, if you're interested in like joining not only like the speedrun community, but also just like other people who are really into this series, there is a Legacy of Kain series Discord. And I know there's some devs in there as well. It's just like a really big casual community in there. There should be a link to it on speedrun.com if you look up the leaderboard page for any of the Legacy of Kain games. On top of that, I would like to thank you all for being here and also getting my incentive for Soul Reaver 2 met while we were doing this. I can't like get over just how generous y'all have been, like during my run and also in other runs for the sake of getting that met. So thank you all so much.
Man, we're almost at $1,000. We're at $945 for the day, which is amazing.
Goodness. If we could hit 1,000 by the end of Soul Reaver 2 Remastered, that would be so freaking unbelievable. Like, just y'all have been crazy. Let's get that. Let's get that Rogue Squadron incentive met, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, final boss is here. This is the second Kain fight. He works in principle the same way as the first, but his phase 2 and 3 attacks can be a bit more difficult to land because you have to do platforming. And the geometry in this room is strange, to put it the best. But yeah, this is kind of our final confrontation where Raziel's like, dude, you have got to stop putting people in the Hell Dimension for gamers. And Kain is like, I saw the future, and the future told me that if I put people in the Hell Dimension for gamers, then I might be able to get my free will back. There's also a guy named Morbius, or I'm sorry, Mobius, but I like to call him Morbius, who's like, yeah, imagine Morbius takes your free will, and then this guy named Kain was like, well, now that I don't have my free will, thanks to this Morbius guy, I'm just going to throw people into the Hell Dimension for gamers. But that's really not fair to us, so we're going to teach him a lesson here.
You know, it's cyclical. It becomes a real problem.
Yeah, we're trying to break the cycle here.
Yeah, we have to heal.
Alright, start of the fight, he's just going to warp over here, and I'm going to smack him. As long as I don't move, I know exactly where he's going to be. And luckily, the game will kind of rotate us in the direction that we want to look, which is really nice. Time isn't coming up yet, but will be sooner rather than later. It is as soon as we land the final hit on this Kain fight. Okay, that's hit number 2. Get ready on time soon. Sorry, I'm waiting with bated breath to see what the final time is. Time. Oh my god!
GG.
I got record. I got record. That's
you
my
got
record.
record?
That is the first ever sub 58. That is more record by 5 seconds.
Holy crap! Congratulations!
Oh my god. I golded the last 3 segments of the run back to back. That is a new world record in all bosses. Oh my god.
Fate promises more.
Wow!
57:59.33, and a 0.3 of a second gold got me the sub 58. GG's, everybody!
GG!
I want to give a huge thank you again to the Soul Reaver community, as well as everyone else involved with staffing and volunteering for the event. I had the privilege of being on Games Committee for this event, so thank you to everyone else on the Games Committee for believing in this game and this run. That was cool. I just want you all to know, by the way, that that run was plus 90 seconds out of Rahab. So in the last 3 splits, I made up a minute and a half to clutch record by almost 5 seconds. So, still much more to improve on this run, too. So if you're interested in seeing how that goes, you can find me at twitch.tv/Jaxler1, where I stream runs of this game and other stuff as well. And I'll also be doing this run in particular at AGDQ 2026.
Nice.
Scheduled for, I believe, Monday, 11 p.m. of that week. So, Eastern time. But, yeah, there it is. We reached credits. I didn't mean to skip through the credits because the credits music is good. But I'm going to shut up for a little bit because we have an incentive to fulfill.
Yeah, we got to set up for another run.
We do. So we're going to take a quick moment to swap back to a break screen so that I can set up Soul Reaver 2 Remastered any %. We'll see you all in just a moment.